I love the ring light too.
Okay, so hi everyone. My name is Carmen, and we are doing this episode straight from my house for Ito Novio, the late night show. The setup is a little different because now I'm using my phone. It's a long story, but I'm recently unemployed, so the computer that I was using to do this, I had to return it. So now we're doing this on my phone. So if you see me going like this, I'm just trying to take the notifications out of the way. But I do want to thank my previous guest, Rachel Lowe. She was with us last week, and she's the CEO and founder of Struck app, which you should download the Struck app. Anyone listening, it's really, really cool. It's available right now in 2 cities, LA and New York. And it's really cool if you like astrology. So definitely, if you are unemployed, quarantine, and just want something fun to do on your phone, definitely download it. It's only available for iPhone, so I'm sorry, Android users, you can't use this right now. But I want to give a huge, huge shout out also to my guest today. So we actually had Angel back in the day, back when we were thinking about the Ito Novio late night show. They were one of my first guests, but we did it on IGTV. But I feel like, now that I have the hang of this live thing, we can actually give you a proper platform for us to talk and for us to have this conversation recorded. So welcome, Angel, from Single Girl Diaries.
Thank you. Well, thank you for having me back. I can't believe I was your first guest when you've had such other better guests now that you're on the roll. But yeah. Like you said, I'm a single girl or from Single Girl Diary. I definitely started that during the summer when things were popping. But now I'm currently on a stagnant single girl, no dating zone.
You know what's interesting? I feel like have you reflected on the year, like your whole year of dating? Because I know you said Single Girl Diary, and you're like, right now I'm not doing any entries. Does that tend to happen to you at the end of the year? You kind of like the year's dying down. I want to take a time for myself.
Well, I was in a 8-year relationship, so this was really my first year back into dating. So I can't say if it's normal this.
Mm-hmm.
But the only reason why I guess I stopped, as I was telling you before this, because I started talking to my ex and they are sick. I didn't want to be disrespectful just because we're having a really good time in general.
Right.
And I guess it wouldn't be on a standstill just because I do still get messages on Tinder and Grinder. So if I wanted to, I could still continue to be
You haven't
my
deleted the
single girl.
apps.
What?
You haven't deleted the apps from your phone.
No, I haven't. In fact, actually, the other day, and I don't know if it's okay to show because I don't know if they're out or not.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess I'll show.
Don't show their faces.
No, don't show their faces.
No,
okay.
don't show their faces.
Well, the other day I was talking. I matched with someone on Tinder, and we were having a really good talk, and we ended up trading numbers. Mm-hmm. And then last night we finally were like, hey, let's video chat, and we video chatted, and it was this conversation. I think he was a little scammer because the picture, he's really hot. Let me text it to you.
I know, I need to see this picture.
But
I have to ask you a question too, because you're talking about scammers, scammers, catfish. You do find that on the apps. Have you ever been dick fished where they said their dick was gonna be big, but when you got there, it was like, you lied to me. This is a fake dick.
Well, kind of, except sometimes I don't realize how big it is.
Oh no.
So I guess like the opposite, and then I'm like, oh shoot, like how am I this like petite 5'3", 5'4" person is gonna take that, you know?
Shots
But
down.
I'm always a champ. I never say no. I never back down on a challenge.
Yeah.
So in a sense, yes, I just like I guess I'm like really bad with measure. I'm horrible at math in general.
Me too.
I'm bad with measurements. Like if someone says like 5 inches, 6 inches, in my head, I cannot picture that for the life of me. So when someone says like 10 inches, I know like, okay, that's closer to the end of a ruler, but I can't picture it. Um, yeah, I can't picture it. So yeah, sometimes people are like, big, and they'll say how long, but I'm not expecting, I guess, like when I get there in person, I'm like, oh shoot, like I'm gonna have to take that. Kind of like with the military guy, he was huge. A military guy I dated, we
Mhm.
never talked about it. And I guess like that was more my summer relationship. It was a really fun time with him. Um, when we talked, it wasn't like let's fuck or what do you like about this? Like what do you like being done to me or to you?
Right.
It was actually like good conversation. So when the time came for us to like actually like have sex and stuff, I was shocked, floored, just because I'm like, what the heck? Like, how did I never ask about this? And it hurt so much. Um, yeah, I think it didn't become comfortable until maybe like the third time we hooked up that same night.
Yeah. I
Um,
feel like it takes some
but yeah,
time too.
yeah, especially like anal sex. Um, I don't know how some people are able to just go into it. Especially girls. Like some of my friends do have anal sex and they're like, oh no, I didn't use lube or whatever. And I'm like, girl, you're brave. I could never. Like I need it. Especially with some of these freaking foot long dicks,
I think it's
penises.
interesting that you bring up anal sex because we were talking about that in the previous episode
Previous.
that we were with. And maybe you can walk us through kind of like the steps that we should take because I mean, I've never had anal sex. I would want to in the future. But yeah, like if you want to walk us through kind of like the steps and why there should be, preparation and then aftercare, like why that's so important for everybody to do.
Yes, I always tell my girls have to prepare. I do have a douche that I always use when I'm gonna. So everybody has their own suggestions. I think clinically it's not recommended to be doing it or doing it often.
Mm-hmm.
But whenever I do hook up with someone, when I was in a relationship, I guess like it kind of maintained itself. Like I knew when I was gonna be having sex with my partner. It I don't know. I was like never dirty. It was never dirty down there. But I guess like post relationship as a single girl, I do have a douche. And I don't know if this is every gay person or just me, but for me it does take some time to like you have to bring water up in there
Right.
and push it out until it's clear. I think the most important thing in terms of anal sex is just being comfortable with the person you're gonna do it with. Just
Mm-hmm.
because if you don't know this person, you don't know if they're gonna go in like full on, just stick it in. You don't know how much lube you're gonna need. Um, so I think that's the most important person. That's the most important point. Being with someone you're comfortable with, and I cannot stress it enough to everybody. You do need a lot of lube and a lot of
What is a lot?
patience too. Well, I guess when I say a lot, to the point that it's comfortable for you,
Okay.
because obviously you don't want to have something being stuck into you where
Yeah.
you're in a lot of pain or discomfort. Yeah, so I would use lube until you take it comfortably, and take your time too, because obviously if it's one that's really big, it's not
Mm-hmm.
gonna go in smoothly. It definitely gonna take some time.
Right. So I feel
So,
like
but yeah,
everyone listening, write these notes down because we're still in cuddle season, even though it's like cuddle and separation season. Because some people are, cuddled up and booed up. Some people like me, I just cut it loose with my
like
situation.
us.
Yeah, like us, we're back on the streets, back on the streets, 2021. But yeah, like it's like you said. I think rule of thumb, you should always be comfortable with that person, whether it's a penis or a finger, whatever it is. Always be comfortable with that person and also communicate. Do you think it was easy for you to ask for lube, or was it kind of just you got lucky and the partners that you've been with have been responsible for that?
No, I always take it. I don't
Oh,
care if they
okay.
say they have it. I just guys don't really care. And it has
Mm-hmm.
been, I guess, like they don't really care in terms of like having stuff, because some of these guys like won't even have like any type of protection. And I'm like, no, like I'm taking it with me because I don't want that like,
Mm-hmm.
oh shoot, like I don't have it. So
Right.
yeah, I always take mine. I have my little hoe bag.
Oh, perfect. How big is your
Yeah.
whole bag? Because my whole bag, it depends. Mine is pretty tiny. Like I take it in like
Yeah,
this little
no,
bag.
mine is literally like, I feel like those bags that sometimes come with shoes, like to protect
Mhm.
them.
Yeah.
That's literally the size. It's like a small little bag.
Oh, I'm just gonna lay this here.
Well, yeah, I like take
Yeah.
it. I mean, I feel like at this point they know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
I even like sneak a toothbrush in there just in case.
I feel like that's important, right? Like taking responsibility for your own sex life. Like you said, whether it's taking lube or taking condoms just to be safe, or even a
And
toothbrush.
I used to be really embarrassed about it, or self-conscious, I would say. Um, but I'm like, what the heck? Like these guys literally, because sometimes I literally would go in and it'd be like, okay, why did I come over here if you're not have like anything prepared for me?
Right.
Um, like, yeah, I guess like I shouldn't be ashamed of like me basically prepping for these like freaking tops. Um, but so it was definitely embarrassing carrying a little freaking hoe back, but I guess like I don't know. I don't think anything of it now.
But isn't that important too? Because it's like, okay, yeah, you're taking, the bag, or we're taking the bag to our dick appointments, but we're also expecting the same thing in return, right? Like this person needs to have sheets on the bed. I'm not fucking you on a mattress with no sheets. I need to at least make sure that you have condoms. Like I feel like our self-worth, we're worth it, right? Like we're worth to fuck on some bed with some sheets. Like, you know what I
Yeah, I guess also I, even though if it's like you mentioned a dick appointment, I do look for respect, because no
mean?
matter, if it's just like a one-time thing, I do look for certain respect in terms of like hygiene,
Mm-hmm.
cleanliness, like around your area, like whether it's your bed, your room. I think that's respectful too, because I have gone to guys who aren't hygienic down there and it literally stinks. And they
Right.
expect you to like go down, and I'm like, no, honey, I'm leaving. Um, yeah, so that's one thing I do care about. I guess not care about, but I do have self respect, and I won't, even though I'm not like the greatest to look at, I don't have the most amazing body. They contacted me,
I was about to
they
say
wanted
you're pulling men with anybody, okay? No one was
it.
contacting you.
Yeah, which is also like another thing. I never make the first message. It's always, so that's how I know they want it. And it's not me like, oh, like I hope they like don't have questions about my body type, or I hope they don't care about like, I guess like a bigger stomach, um, yeah, thick legs. I don't know, just because I know they've seen my pictures, they know what I look like, so they
Right.
want it or are interested. But yeah, so I do have self-respect in that. I've literally told guys like I can't, like it literally stinks, and they're like, oh, I can use like baby lotion, and I'm like, no, this needs a shower.
Yeah, I was gonna say you need to shower with some soap. Like things need to happen.
Yeah. So I don't know. I remember even like posting it when I was like actively dating. I do remember posting stuff like tops need to get canceled. And it was literally out of frustration of like those situations where I'm like, you like freaking stink. Um, I was in your apartment and there were literal cockroaches. Um, yeah, so no.
See, I feel like that's the one thing that I'll give my ex situationship. He was super clean. The dick, super clean, super nice, like no complaints. I'm gonna miss that dick. But on to other dick. That's what I'm gonna have to do. But yeah, I also wanted to ask you too, because well, you're a grown man, but I feel like we learn about sex through the media and through our friends. So how was sex introduced to you, and like those type of like hygiene routines? Like, did you learn that by yourself, or did you have friends to kind of guide you? Like, this is what you should do.
So I grew up very religious, I want to say, like in a Mexican household, very Catholic. We never spoke about any of that. Like it was never, I don't know if you maybe in your household, you spoke about sex and like taking care of yourself. Did you talk about that?
Only with my mom. So me and my mom have a very weird relationship, but mostly it's through like shared trauma. But that's the only reason why we are so open about sex.
Yeah, I mean, I was never introduced through it, like in the household. In school, I think it was very generic in like our sex ed class. And really, it was more like a heteronormative education. It wasn't like, if you're a little gay kid, this is what you should do. I really learned it through kind of movies like Call Me by Your Name. I remember one movie I watched that was insightful was this movie called and it was a parody movie, but it was called Another Gay Movie, I think that's what it was called.
Yeah.
And even that, it was like it wasn't represented like I feel like a normal hetero couple would be. It was just very sexual. Sex was like the end game. So that's how I was introduced to it. And obviously porn. That's where I would go to. So again, it was never, I guess, like gay sex and gay relationships weren't introduced as a like you meet, you kiss, you go on dates, and marriage. It was always more like sex and just sexual undertones.
Isn't it crazy?
Or the full tone.
Yeah, because I feel like you said, like sexual education in school was very generic. They didn't even talk about like sexual preference or now like PrEP or PEP. I think that's one of the pills too. Like they don't speak about things like that. And it's like we really like don't get educated until we're more grown, right? Until we're actually doing this stuff, and then we're like, oh shit.
Yeah. How did I not know this? I want to say like I guess like from your perspective too, because I can't remember at least learning this in school, but I'm also dumb. I didn't have like I didn't have a traditional experience in that. I went to high school like half of my ninth grade, and then I was kind of homeschooled until my senior year, so I could have missed out on a lot. But do they teach about birth control in like those sex ed class, or where do you learn about it and your options?
So they did teach about birth control, but honestly, they only talked about condoms and birth control pills. Like they never talked about like an IUD, like the Depo shot, like all the options that you have, or even like abortion, right? Like that was like rarely talked about. So it's weird that we have to kind of like learn by doing or by having, little accidents here and there. And that's how we learn.
Yeah. how, I guess, what was your dating story growing up? Just because I know what the gay, and I'm sure it's changed so much now. I think schools in general are more open. People are more open, especially like the younger generation. But how was dating for you, like growing up? I guess.
I didn't really start dating until I was in college. And I would say dating, but it wasn't really dating. It was just like going out. I guess, yeah, going out on dates, but it's like, it would just be really casual, like sexual experiences. Um, but yeah, it sucked, honestly. Like, I feel like I was more focused on school and like friends and going out. And whenever I had free time, because I don't know why, like, I just wasn't making a lot of time for men back in the day. And now I'm actually like, I want all the men. So my
Do
dating
you
life kind of sucked.
would you change your experience that you had, like dating until college? Because I know you mentioned you were focusing on friends and whatnot, which I feel like should be what we are. Like, we shouldn't be focused on, like, oh my gosh, like, I want this relationship at freaking 14, 16 years old.
You know what's interesting? I wouldn't change it because obviously I'm the person I am today. But if I could do it again, I guess I wouldn't be as afraid. I would have liked to kind of like work on my traumas way earlier. Like right when it happened, seek help. Because I didn't, not until like I was like in my late 20s. And even until now, like I'm kind of like unlearning a lot of that. Um, but yeah, I think I would have liked to seek therapy and then hopefully work through that. Because now that I'm
Yeah,
older, I'm like, damn, I could have done this a long time ago.
I have a similar um, perspective just because I think growing up, for me at least, when I was like 14, 15, it was so not accepted. I think I don't know if I told you, but it was like I was bullied for
Mhm.
being like the only gay out person in high school, which I guess like went into why I decided to drop out of like a traditional education,
Right.
just because it was so bad. So I kind of repressed. I feel like I was always such a cheery person growing up. And then when, oh, and I don't really even know what it was, why like the perspective changed on me. Because I
Mm-hmm.
remember I had all these like great, pretty good guy friends. And all of a sudden they stopped talking to me. Like they literally told me, oh, you can't hang out at this spot anymore. And I was like, well, why not? You know, like, what the heck?
Right.
And they're like, oh, because you're gay. And I'm like, what the heck? And at that point, I was like, no, no, I'm not. And yeah, so that did play into it to the point where I was like almost hiding myself, learning to hate myself, starting to cut myself, um, to the point where I was like, did not date until I was 18, I think. Well, yeah, when I had my first boyfriend at 18,
Right.
um, but I had my first sexual experience at 16 when I remember all of my friends had the relationships. Everybody at that point had like lost their virginity, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I need to too.
You're like, I'm
And I
next.
remember, yes, well, I just felt like I needed to do it. Like I needed to lose
Yeah.
it. Um, and yeah, I remember this one girl, which was crazy to think about, but she was, I believe, at that point I was 16, so she was 14 probably, if not 15.
Mm-hmm.
But she would date these guys on Craigslist for money. So she would have sex. Well, not even date. She would have sex with them.
Oh my
Prostitution,
gosh, she was
basically.
hustling.
Yeah. She would hook up with these guys. She obviously was lying about her age because she was freaking 14, 15, dating or having sex with these like freaking 25-year-olds, 30-year-olds. And then I
Mm-hmm.
was like, oh my gosh, like I need to like lose it. Like, can you help me? She posted an ad on Craigslist for me. We picked someone. She I remember it would email me like whoever replied. We picked
Mm-hmm.
a pretty decent looking guy, but that's not
This
the
was the
guy that
first
showed
Tinder
up.
for you.
Yeah, but that was not the guy that showed up for me. The guy that showed up for me was not that cute, like whatever 20-something-year-old, me freaking 16 saying I'm 18. The guy that showed up, the freaking guy who allegedly was 40-something years old but looked like 60. And it was like a horrifying experience. I literally went home, vomited, cried, with $50 because that's how much he gave me.
Oh my God.
So yeah, so that was my first experience. But even through that, it was like self-loathe just because, you know, people telling you it's bad, all the name calling. But that was my first, I guess, like exposure to it, or that was my exposure in general, like growing up gay in San Diego.
I kind of want to jump onto this topic, and we'll kind of like talk about this and then wrap up. But do you feel like you're more sexually liberated now through all your experiences and all of your past? You know, like, do you feel like now you're more at peace and you're like, fuck it, I'm just myself and I'm gonna have sex with whoever?
Yes. I think everything that's really happened to me has shaped me into who I am. I'm kind of like I was saying earlier, the self-respect, the learning how to douche. I literally learned it on YouTube. But literally, no, actually, I learned it on Tumblr. I'm lying. I learned it on Tumblr.
Tumblr days.
Yeah, which it sucks so bad because I remember Tumblr used to be the spot where I would like literally go to look for either like videos or tips. Now we have like what Pinterest, YouTube, but yeah, I learned it on Tumblr, and I do feel like in a way it took a lot of therapy, because I did seek therapy. I've had therapy since I was 16 actually, and I guess throughout the years I've understood myself more, and even growing up in like my household with my family and how they were, I understand them and their perspective. And I not that I needed to forgive them, but I guess like I did, just like their comments, their points of views, to the point where I'm like fine with them saying that, them having their own point of view, because at the end of the day, if I care, it's not really gonna make me happy. It's not gonna do anything to me.
Right.
I really have to live me authentically, for me to be happy. And it took a long time. I want to say like this is probably the happiest I've been. Well, I feel like actually I've barely begun to be happy. So I'm pretty happy with how I am right now. Yeah, so I do think everything that's happened to me has shaped me in being more liberated, because now I really don't care. I also used to be really self-conscious. Even with men, I was like, oh my gosh, like, is he into me? With my first boyfriend, I remember he was a hot army guy, or I guess like retired army guy. And I'm like, how is he into me? You know, being a freaking chubby little boy. So yeah, I guess like I don't take that into account. If they're with me, they want to be with me, obviously.
Yeah. No, I feel you on that. I feel like for me, like the same, therapy has helped me kind of like go through my own sexuality and then kind of accept some of the things that have happened, but then also work through it. There's still a lot of things that I still have to work through, but I've definitely gotten to a place where I'm more comfortable. And just like you know, like I just like want to have more sex, like want to have more experiences with people, obviously safely, you know, I'm not trying to like do anything crazy. But yeah, I really liked our conversation, and I'm so happy that you came back and we put you on a proper platform, okay? Because the last time I was like, no, I didn't save. But I love these conversations. And where can people follow you if they want to just like chat with you or just ask you more questions about Single Girl Diary?
Well, I did start the Single Girl Diary Instagram, and then unfortunately I stopped being dating. But the Instagram, my personal Instagram is ITSA Bonilla. Um, yeah, that's my handle. And that's pretty much my handle for like my Twitter too. Yeah, so ITSA Bonilla. Um, I'm
Oh my
literally
god, I don't
always
follow you
on.
on Twitter.
Yeah, it's the same one, ITSA Bonilla.
Okay, I'm gonna follow you after this.
Literally, it's so funny because okay, I didn't start using Twitter until maybe and actively using Twitter until maybe like a year or a year and a half to 2 years ago. And so I didn't really understand it, but I kept liking like freaking naked guys, and I didn't realize it shows up on other people's Twitter feed until literally one of my friends screenshotted and sent it to me, and they're like, "Why is freaking porn showing up in my timeline?"
Like, what are you reposting, retweeting?
No, I wasn't even reposting or retweeting. I was literally just liking it. So I was like, I was
Okay.
mortified. I literally went and unliked everything.
So I guess if you want to know the real us, follow us on Twitter because that's where I'd be doing all of my like dear diary on my Twitter. But yeah, it was great talking to you. We definitely need to have you back again for season 2 of Ito Novio Late Night Show Adults Only. So this is the second to last episode. We have one more episode next week. That's going to be the end for season 1. We actually have Brianna, who is a spiritualist expert, and she's going to be talking to us about twin flames and soulmates. So apparently in our lifetime, we could meet a soulmate or your twin flame. So you definitely want to tune in, Angel, because who knows, maybe your ex is your twin flame or soulmate. You never know.
May yeah, we have a lot of history. I mean, it was an 8-year long relationship. So yeah, they always hold a special place in my heart.
Yes.
But
And
we are ready to move on to the next one.
ooh, I'm ready to move on to the next one too, y'all. But I'll keep you posted. I don't think I'm gonna go back to the situationship dick, but who knows?
No,
Who knows?
Do not.
Keep me accountable. But don't forget, we'll be live again next Wednesday, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Bye.